Good morning, Lemon Nation, Lemon Heads. How are you this morning? Are you? Oh, look, Hot Topics is in blue. What happened? I think I went in and screwed up with the producers. Sorry, producers. Did I mess up? Andy, did I mess something up in the thing this weekend when I was?
I don't know, but it is fixed now.
Oh, it's so good to be able to talk to you guys. It's so good to be able to see you. It's so good to be able to have gotten some rest. I have lots to tell you about. Do you guys want to hear? Do you want to hear everything? You want to hear all? Which lemon hat should I wear today? Should I do this one? I don't know. I think I'll do this one. Okay. So anyways, yeah, I have lots to talk to you about. I went to the Grammys last night and people were like, why is he there? Well, because I go every year. They invite me. I was supposed to cover it. And also make sure you guys have the thing from the tribute that they gave for me, which was just overwhelmingly positive, and I was surprised. I'll show you guys that. But I also wrote something on Substack this weekend that I'm gonna tell you about, and that is when I said my grandmother used to hum around the house. This was, and I was born in the '60s, so this was during all the tumult for the civil rights and King and whatever, and she would sing, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, gonna keep on a walking, keep on a talking, marching up to freedom land. And then there was a verse that said, ain't gonna let no jailhouse turn me round, turn me round, turn me round, ain't gonna let no jailhouse turn me round, gonna keep on a walking, keep on a talking, right up to freedom land. So this is what I have to say. F off whoever you think is going to stop me from reporting. I'll say it, fuck off. If you think you're gonna stop me from reporting, if you think that you are going to stop and diminish my voice, then you have as my grandmother would say, you have another thing coming, because that ain't ever going to stop. I don't care what you tried to do to me. I am a journalist through and through and through. And I came from strong, sturdy peasant stock that built this country for free. This is my country through and through. If anyone deserves the freedom and the rights and the Constitution of this country, it is me, this little black boy from Louisiana that came from enslaved people who have not always, and still don't always, have the same freedoms as white people do in this country. So for all of you people who are so aggrieved and so upset that I had the nerve to be a journalist and to exercise my freedom of expression and my freedom of the press under the Constitution, too bad. Too bad. I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, all right? So I just want you to know that. And I want to start off with I'm going to talk to you about what happened at the Grammys, but I want to start off with a thank you to the Academy and a thank you to my friend Clive Davis this weekend, who I was shocked. I could not believe that he did what he did. Andy, do you have it? If you have it, show it. But
yes.
Okay, show it before we get to our very esteemed guest, and we're going to talk about all of this. But all of this for me, especially this weekend, was about freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of the press, and our constitutional rights as Americans. So I was surprised. I went to the Clive Davis party. This was, I think, 24 hours or so after that I had been arrested in the same hotel, and this is the reception I got. Don't make me cry this morning. Stunned. 2 minutes. And I was just like, okay. But anyway, it was amazing. I want to thank the Honorable Nancy Pelosi for the advice that she gave me this weekend, and for all of our leaders who have reached out, including our former vice president and everyone who has reached out. It has just been really amazing. And all of the Congress people and senators and politicians who believe in the First Amendment, and just average everyday people. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. I'm going to keep fighting. I am not going to stop. And I want to say to you, please support independent media, independent journalists, and the press. We need a free and independent press in this time. And for like-minded people who believe in the Constitution, who believe in democracy, it is time for us to band together and to and not let the small things separate us, because if we don't end this now, I believe the very little that we have left of our Constitution is going to be over. It's going to be gone. We won't have that anymore if we continue. And I also asked, I will share this with you, as the Honorable Speaker Emeritus said to me. She said, you will be, just stay strong. You will become the face of the First Amendment. If you got to be strong, you got to do it right. And then I said, well, Madam Speaker, do you think that we're going to have an election in 2026? And she said, absolutely, 100%. And so I take her at her word, and I stand with that. In the meantime, I have lots that I want to talk to you about, but I cannot let my guest just sit there in the waiting room, because he is also an honorable person. He's also been attacked by this administration, and he knows the pressure and the stress. He hasn't been arrested, but he knows what it's like to be. I think that the president, excuse me, said that he was treasonous or seditious or something like that, and that is Congressman Jason Crow. Congressman, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us this morning. How are you?
Don, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. I'm still waiting on my Lemon Nation hat, which I think is in the mail. It's great to be with you. How are you?
I got it. I'm okay. I'm a little weary, and but as I said, I have lots of support. Look, I'm a happy-go-lucky person, and I'm going to smile. I'm not going to let anyone steal my joy. But Congressman, as you know, this is serious. These are criminal charges that they have filed against me. Yeah. Federal charges. They sent a team of agents to arrest me in the middle of the night, and for what? I still can't figure it out, but I'll let the legal system and my team work on that while I continue to do what I do, and that's focus, on giving people the news and what they need to know without fear or favor. That's what I'm going to continue to do, but I'm going to fight it vigorously in court.
Well, he's picked on the wrong person. That much I know. Much like he picked on the wrong people when he tried to target me and Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin. Donald Trump, what he's all about is this theory that fear is contagious, right? He can make examples of you and other people in hopes that, hey, if he can take on Don Lemon and get you to back off, then why should everybody else, step up and put themselves out there? But obviously, you're not going to back off, and he's picked the wrong person once again.
I'll ask you first about yourself and then about me. When you heard that that Donald Trump and this administration, they targeted you for actually giving our service members the truth, and what they hear, I think every single day, especially new service members, is that they don't have to follow illegal or unlawful orders, and that they were attacking you for that. What did you think?
Well, first of all, there's nothing sensational about this, right? This is just true, right? You learn this in boot camp. Every commander teaches his or her soldiers this. It is ingrained in service that your obligation is to uphold the rule of law and to follow the Constitution. We serve the Constitution in the country. We don't serve one man. That is the ethos of military service. And I spent years training my soldiers on this, being trained on this myself. Pete Hegseth even said it in 2016 in the video. Follow the law. Pam Bondi even said it to the Supreme Court in 2024. So nothing about what we said was sensational or different from the normal military experience. Donald Trump took exception to it because it's somebody telling our service members that they have an obligation to follow the law, and not him blindly, which is what he wants. He wants blind loyalty. So that's when he tweeted out or truthed out, we should be arrested, we should be tried for treason, we're committing sedition, and then called for our execution and our hanging, which of course then results in this torrent of death threats, hundreds of death threats against me and the others, enhanced security, which he knows, by the way. Donald Trump knows that's the result when he tweets stuff like this out, and he's trying to, weaponize folks against us to try to get us the cow and to back down.
You think he knows that people will be threatened and that they'll have to have security? Does he not understand if he continues to do that, then you could end up like Ilhan Omar with someone spraying something on you, the substance that we still don't know what it was, or worse, being harmed, and you know what the consequences of that could be as well. You think
Yeah.
he knows that and doesn't care?
Absolutely. I think he knows it. And I think that's actually the point, right? Because the point is not, there's no basis in law and fact to these allegations, right? They're completely baseless legally allegations. The point and what's essential to the autocrats' playbook is harassment and intimidation. They just want to make it untenable to be a leader of the resistance, that it's going to cost you something. It's going to make it hard for your family, that the costs of being a member of the resistance and opposition will be too high for people to bear, and they'll back down. And when people do, then he can do whatever he wants and he has total control. I mean, that's autocracy 101. That's like chapter 1 of the autocrats playbook, right? So that's the point. It's a feature, not a bug of the system he's trying to design, which is why it's important we hold our ground.
I was surprised that he did. Well, I shouldn't be surprised at anything, but it was so soon after Charlie Kirk, and right around that time, and where they were saying, you know, you've got to, everyone should tone down their rhetoric, and the Democrats should tone down their rhetoric because this is what happened with Charlie Kirk. And then you have Donald Trump saying, you know, saying that you are, you know, that you should be tried for sedition or for treason. And I thought about the same thing with Ilhan Omar the other day. He was talking about Ilhan Omar and basically otherizing her, saying that she wasn't a real American. That's what, you know, but saying, you know, she comes from a shitty country. Those are his words, that because, you know, he called countries shithole countries, saying it's not really a country and she should be happy that she's here, and she's always complaining about America. And then there's the attack on her. I was like, where is that energy that you were telling people after Charlie Kirk's death? And to untime, he should not have died. He should not have died that way. It was, you know what I mean?
But there are shreds of truth. I mean, how he does this, how Trump does this, is he'll take something that is true, right, and he'll say it, and he'll pull people in, right? Like it is true that, you know, NATO countries need to pay more of their fair share. It is true that fentanyl is destroying our communities. I mean, he'll take these things, but then he'll twist them and contort them for perverse results. And the rules don't apply to him, right? It's true for somebody else, but it's not true for him. Right. So political violence is a classic example. Like I condemn all political violence because we can't have a democracy if we settle things through violence. That you know, actually by definition is not a democracy. So I condemn it all the time, and I maintain, you know, that level playing field. Trump, it's just, you know, condemning the violence that he doesn't like or doesn't serve him. Right. Obviously, January 6th didn't even happen. Right, in his book. Right. It was a peaceful protest. He's erasing that history, or trying to, which is why we are committed to not allowing him to erase that history.
So let me ask you then, when you heard about what happened to me, what were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, you know, having known you for years, I wanted to make sure you're okay. You have great legal counsel. I know that, you know, as long as you're safe, I know that he again has picked the wrong person, right? That was my second thought. A, are you okay? B, boy, you know, Trump has made another mistake, right? He keeps on trying to pick on people and use them as examples for this larger intimidation campaign, but he's picking the wrong folks, right? Who are not going to be cowed and back down, which is very telling.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I guess I agree with you. Yeah, well, I agree with you somewhat. It's just that when you're in the middle of it, you know, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
Some of those things. Talk to me then, Congressman, if you will, about the First Amendment and about freedom of the press and why he is. I mean, he's been attacking the press forever. It started with, you know, it started with fake news, and then it became enemies of the people, and now, you know, obviously it has gone on before that, since that, to having people's journalists' homes searched, to arresting journalists now, by the way, all of whom happen to be Black, by the way.
Yeah. Which again, I think is intentional, not accidental, right? He is targeting those who he thinks will send a broad message to people, right? About, you know, who's on his side and who's not. So I think that's a part of the strategy. A. B. So much of this is just so deeply un-American. When you talk about trying to prevent people from peacefully assembling, sending masked agents in unmarked cars, you don't even know who they are, to snatch people off of streets, to kidnap Americans and others off the streets and hold them without a hearing, without habeas corpus. I mean, that was actually one of the reasons why the colonists rose up, is because of British soldiers snatching people off the streets and holding them without hearing. Habeas corpus was one of the fundamental aspects of the Constitution and why we became a nation. So what I think is that we are at an inflection point where we can build a coalition to resist what Donald Trump is doing, because so much of what he's doing is not libertarian. So much of what he's doing is not conservative, fiscal, and otherwise. So much of what he's doing is not ending the endless wars, not respecting people's freedom of speech and right to assemble. So that allows us to go out to Americans and to folks, who may have voted for him in the past, right, and for a variety of reasons, and to pull people back in, while at the same time knowing the difference between those who voted and supported him because of racism, bigotry, and misogyny, right, and never creating a permission structure around that, holding very, very firm on those issues, right? But going to those who voted for him for other reasons: frustration, their life didn't turn out well, their children are dying of fentanyl, a lot of frustration and anger out there in this country for other reasons, and trying to pull those folks back into our coalition. That is my task, as an elected official, which I know is a different task than other folks, but that's what I'm working hard to do.
So, Congressman, I have to tell you, you like in your sweatshirt with your coffee or tea or whatever you're drinking, right? And haven't shaved in it. I think I know this is what Americans want from our leaders now, is to be real people. And I'm so happy that you can be a real person, that you don't always have to be in a shiny TV studio with a suit on in order to get to the American people. Because in this independent, season that we're in now, I think that our reach and influence, I think, is, can be even more powerful than the traditional media. Can you talk to me, please, about the freedom of the press, about where the media is now? I believe that the media, in many ways, corporate media, has been kneecapped by Donald Trump, as we see with so many examples of settling and people pulling their punches and the false equivalence. Can you just talk to me about that, the media, and also, our leaders adapting to the time that we're in now, which it seems like you and others, Eric Swalwell and others, have adapted to this new season that we're in right now?
Yeah, we're totally in a new season, and I think we if we do this the right way, if we have the right leadership, the right approach, the authenticity, I think we could end up in one of our periods of enlightenment. I think there could be a period of progressive enlightenment in our country post-Trump, where we come out of this better, right? Because we don't want to go back, right? People actually don't want to go back. Whenever I hear somebody say, we're going to rebuild, I'm like, no, we're not rebuilding shit, right? Like, Trump is here because people were frustrated and angry, and he knew how to take advantage of that, right? And he has lied to people and distorted the truth. But people don't want to rebuild a system that wasn't working for them, right? They want something new. A. B. The press point to your main question. It is changing radically, and you know that. You've embraced that, Don. I'm embracing that. I mean, the major networks and a lot of large media, frankly, a lot of them are cowing. They're bending the knee to Donald Trump, and they're losing legitimacy in a lot of ways. And people see that, right? They want to go directly to the source. They want to go to people who are going to be honest brokers, who are going to, be able to tell the truth unencumbered by, their corporate structure that's trying to cow to Donald Trump, right? What happened last year has been insane, right? These large companies over and over again bending the knee and buckling to Donald Trump, and people see it and they're pissed about it, and they should be pissed about it. So they're wanting and expecting something different, and we have to provide that. We have to meet people where they are and what they're demanding.
And look, don't get me wrong. I have friends and former colleagues who are in corporate media doing a great job. They're just up against a really tough time right now with the
Right.
gatekeepers, right? The companies that own them. But it's still some great journalists out there, and there's still, corporate media is still very important. But I think that they could have even more influence if they sort of, did a little self correction.
That's an important distinction. I'm glad you mentioned it. The difference between the journalists and those who are out there trying to do the work and up against tremendous pressures, and kind of the corporate hierarchy and structure who, largely are failing us, right? This is another point I make, is people are very upset and have seen this constant flow of like major law firms entering into agreements with the administration, universities cowing, big companies buckling. What I point out is when you're in a pivotal moment in a society, that almost always happens. Right? It's almost never the elites and the higher ups that show courage and push back. They're almost always buckling and cowing, as I say. Right? That's what history shows. The change and the resistance comes from the bottom up. It comes from everybody else. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The folks who actually have the most to lose are the ones who are standing up and fighting back. So the courage is coming from people at No Kings protests. It's coming from Little League coaches who have put themselves in between their kids and ICE agents. It's coming from journalists like you and others. It's coming from county clerks who are getting death threats, but they're still doing their job, carrying out elections. Those are the heroes of the moment.
Yeah. Congressman, I know I have you for a little bit, but I want to talk to you about the Epstein files. I still have some time left with you, but I got to pay the bills because, as you said, I'm independent. So if you'll give me 2 minutes, I'm going to get a word in from our sponsors, and then we're back with Congressman Jason Crow. The Don Lemon Show is brought to you by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. I've said it before. Equality under the law only works when the government stays neutral. The First Amendment wasn't written to protect one religion. It was written to protect all of us, okay? Right now, that promise is under threat from Christian nationalists who believe their beliefs should control everyone's lives. The Freedom from Religion Foundation, they're fighting back. They're defending students, families, and communities from religious coercion. So if you believe freedom means freedom for everyone, then you need to join them. And here's how you do it. You visit ffrf.us/New Year, or you text DON, that's DON, to 511-511. Again, ffrf.us/New Year, or you can text DON, DON, to 511-511. Text fees may apply. This episode of The Don Lemon Show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, February can be a lot. Everywhere you look, there are reminders of love and relationships, and sometimes it feels like everyone else has it all figured out, and you don't, right? But the truth is, most of us are still fighting it out as we go, trying to figure things out as we go. Whether you're married, dating, single, or focusing on yourself, you're right on time, okay? Therapy can help you understand what you want, what feels heavy, and how to take some pressure off yourself. A little work in therapy can lead to real progress, and that's where BetterHelp comes in. Their therapists are fully licensed, and they match you with someone who fits your needs. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch at any time. So if you have been feeling stuck or overwhelmed, this could be a step forward, some clarity for you, right? A step towards some clarity. Get 10% off at betterhelp.com/DonLemon. That's betterhelp.com/DonLemon, and get 10% off, because your mental health really means everything. All right. Thank you to our sponsors. Welcome back, Congressman Jason Crow. Congressman, I want you to listen to a little bit about this, because I want to talk about the Epstein files. There were a bunch that were dropped just recently, and this is a New York Times audio report, and I want you to listen.
This review is over. I mean, we reviewed over 6 million pieces of paper, tens of thousands of images, and which is what the statute required us to do. It's interesting.
The Trump administration is defending its handling of the Epstein files after its release of millions of new pages on Friday was met with outrage from survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. The Justice Department had missed a December deadline to release all of its files related to the convicted sex trafficker, and hundreds of government lawyers spent the last month scrambling to review and redact the documents. But the redactions sometimes appeared to be haphazard, and a group of 18 survivors said in a statement that they exposed names and identifying information of Epstein's victims.
Of course, the nature of this type of review was so the volume of materials that were reviewed. There would be times when this happened, and so we're working hard to make sure that we fix that. And I expect
Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche told ABC News that the DOJ is moving to retroactively scrub sensitive information as it's made aware of it. Over the weekend, Times reporters reviewing the documents flagged dozens of unredacted nude images of young women, possibly teenagers, that the department posted to its website during the release. The photos included both their bodies and their faces. One woman who's testified in court about Epstein's abuse told the Times, quote, "It's hard to imagine a more egregious way of not protecting victims than having full nude images of them available for the world to download."
So, Congressman, thank you. Thank you for that, Andy. Also, in that, Todd Blanche is saying there is no he doesn't have enough evidence, or that they can't investigate Donald Trump's connection to the Epstein files. It's like, what? Can you imagine someone saying that? And then here's what you have Mike Johnson saying.
All right, let me ask you about another major story. On Friday, the Justice Department released what it said were the rest of the Epstein files. A group of Epstein survivors responded with a statement saying it's not enough, saying, quote, "Epstein's enablers continue to benefit from secrecy. The Justice Department cannot claim it is finished releasing files until every legally required document is released and every abuser and enabler is fully exposed." As long as the survivors say that not enough is being done, has DOJ finished its work, in your opinion?
We all want every abuser and enabler to be fully exposed. We want justice to be done. It's long overdue. But I do think the Department of Justice is complying with the law. We have now 3.5 million documents. You have over 2,000 videos and I think 180,000 images out there. And as soon as they finish the final release, they give us the full report to Congress, which is required under the law. And then they issue I think in the Federal Register, they have to publish why they've made any redactions. The DOJ will have fully complied with the law and done their job. But think of the mass, the volume of documents that they've had to go through. Remember, they have to go through and make sure that they're protecting the innocent. So some of these young women who were victimized, we do not want them to endure further harm. And so that's been the intention, is to make sure that their names are taken out of that.
President Trump's name appears throughout the Epstein files, including in many of the new documents released this week. Now, we want to stress appearing in the Epstein files does not amount to or imply criminal wrongdoing. But do you have any outstanding questions, given that, about the relationship between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein?
I do not. I mean, I've spoken to the president about this privately and personally many times.
So he does not. And Todd Blanche, and he's saying basically this is over. They've done their duty. They can't investigate anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, first of all, Mike Johnson has been an unbelievable disappointment, right? I believe he's a man of faith, but I don't know what how that faith is playing out in his day-to-day life, because what he just said is just patently false, right? It's a lie. This administration, I always say this administration can be boiled down to kind of three distinctive features, right, that explain most of what they do. Cruelty, right? Just political vengeance and going after enemies and just being cruel to people. Corruption, so padding their pockets and making money. And incompetence. But more often than not, they're just bad at what they do, because the people that they're putting in are political cronies and their friends, and actually have no business doing what they're doing, which is what you see in this example, right? Really jeopardizing, the mental health, the welfare of these victims. But all of this, right? Justice denied to these women, the victims of what could be the largest sex abuse scandal in American history, going to the very top of political power, business power, and elites. These women have been denied justice and continue to be denied justice, and it's wrong. It's just wrong, and it has to end. And it seems as though Donald Trump played an instrumental role in all of it, which is why, of course, we're being stonewalled, and why the cover-up continues.
You're not going to stop, though, I hope.
No, of course not.
Okay.
Of course we're not going to stop. These women deserve justice, and these perpetrators are still out there, right? These sick, perverted people are still out there, running businesses, making money, involved in every aspect of American life. They need to be brought to justice, and I don't give a damn who they are, right? I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, Independent. It is wrong. It is sick. and we need to bring these folks to justice. And if the justice system won't work, then that's why we push for the release of the files, so that people can be publicly shamed, right? So that they lose their standing in American society. That's the point of the disclosure, because we can shame them and provide justice that way as well.
Congressman Jason Crow, thank you. I appreciate it, and come back early and often.
Thanks, Don. Yeah, we will. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
See you later. Congressman Jason Crow. So there we go. The good man and is fighting on the right side of democracy, on the right side of history, and we are lucky to have him serving us in Congress and lucky to have him on this program. Okay, in the meantime, we're going to talk more about the Epstein files, but first, let me get a word in, and I'm going to bring in my colleague, Tara Palmieri, who has been covering and reporting on the Epstein files. We're back in 2 minutes. Support for the show comes from Shopify. Now, when I started the Don Lemon Show, everything felt overwhelming. Scripts, setup, schedules, branding, to-do lists, they never stopped growing. It was never ending, and sometimes it still is, but this helps. That's why finding the right tool really matters. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify powers millions of stores worldwide and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. And here at the Don Lemon Show, we use Shopify to bring you the merch that you love. So with ready-to-use templates and AI tools, Shopify helps you build a beautiful store, create content, and reach customers faster. From inventory to shipping to returns, Shopify has you covered. So if you are ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Start your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. Support comes from Lean. Now, everybody's talking about weight loss injections, but not everyone wants those weekly shots, right? And the harsh side effects from them. That's why doctors created a weight loss supplement called Lean. Lean's studied ingredients have been shown to help lower blood sugar, burn fat, and curb appetite and cravings. But listen, Lean isn't for casual dieters with just a few pounds to lose. It is designed for frustrated dieters with 10 or more pounds to lose. So get started with 20% off and you can get a free rush shipping when you visit Lean. It's takelean.com. Here it is, takelean.com, and enter the promo code LEMON. Again, takelean, TAKELEAN.com, and make sure you use the promo code LEMON. Thanks to all of our sponsors. And thank you to Tara Palmieri, the renowned and amazing, legendary journalist who has been doing some great work on all accounts, but also really great work leaning into the Epstein files and getting some justice for the victims and for Americans. Thank you for joining us, Tara. How are you?
I'm okay. I think the real question is, how are you? I have been praying for you. I'm so sorry this all happened. This is terrible. And we're all rooting for you, Don. And everything that you stand for in your journalism, like you've always been out there on the street with the people, covering the movements, everything that's happening. Like you're not the kind of anchor that stays in a studio, and we've all always admired you for that. And it's just so upsetting and startling that in this country something like this would happen to you. And like that is your work at its best, you know. And it's just it's really upsetting, but I'm so happy to hear that you're going to keep going. You're not stopping. And like, I loved seeing the standing ovation for you at the Clive Davis dinner. That was awesome.
Thank you very much. And look, I'm going to come on your show and I'm going to talk to you all about it, but I got to take care of some things first, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
to
no,
figure out exactly how far I can go and say and all those things. So thank you for that so much. You're going to make me cry.
I was so upset. You know how many people, like, I mean, we're all we're all rooting for you. This is like a family. I mean, you convinced me to like go out and do this, like help me when I was needing advice. And like, I've really looked up to you and everything you've built. And I don't know, it's just like, it's really, you know, you're like a pioneer in this independent media space. And that's why they targeted you, is because like, you've created a real movement. And you're so forward facing, and you have really defined this. So it's like, it's really the reason you're a target. It's because they are threatened. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I'm a little lost for words, but yeah, I think we're all rooting for you, Don. So.
Well, thank you. I got to tell you too, people who I have not had such great experiences with, who have not treated me kindly, actually reached out to me. And it was like, you know, and an olive branch or to break the ice and
Yeah,
say, I know that we have not been on friendly terms lately, but I think what they're doing to you is wrong. And
totally.
let's like have a drink or go to dinner. And you know what I mean? I think
Yeah,
that, and it's broken the ice to a lot with a
good.
couple of people who, so I'm, at least there's something good that's come out of it.
I
However,
guess, yeah.
there's nothing good, I believe, coming out of the Epstein files. And I'm
No.
surprised, our thumbnail says they arrested the wrong Don. And I was actually listening I was listening to a preacher this weekend who said, out of all of these things, they've arrested Don Lemon, but why hasn't anybody been arrested for the Epstein files?
Exactly. I
And
mean,
why can you imagine if someone has the connections, even just the connections that Donald Trump has, why haven't they been? We would be brought in and questioned at least, and maybe we would have been apprehended. I don't know, but why not?
right. Why not? And, I think when you actually look at who the connections that Jeffrey Epstein had to the very top of every administration that ever covered this, that should have investigated this massive sex trafficking operation, he's managed to sort of burrow himself into the layers of the top of society, of politics, of the Justice Department. I mean, going back to 1996 when Maria Farmer, when Maria Farmer like called in, her the tip in 1996 about her and her sister got tip. It's like it was a police report, asking for help to the FBI, and nobody responded. And it's like, well, he was friends with the president, he was friends with Bill Clinton at the time. And then you go on to 2008 and this very unjust non-prosecution agreement. And then, he's friends with Kathleen Rumler, who is Obama's, not just friends, excuse me, he's getting advice from her. He is the White House counsel, and he's asking her for advice on how to smear Virginia Giuffre, a victim, giving her a Birkin bag, which she was just so excited about, right? And then, you just look at every layer, like he's friends with Ken Starr, Alan Dershowitz. It's like he has everybody locked up and paid for, throughout multiple administrations. And even now, I mean, Jay Clayton, who is leading this investigation, this new investigation that President Trump has opened up into the Democrats, right? And he was the one who's supposed to be working. He's running the SDNY, like he is he's the federal prosecutor at the top of the SDNY. And he was supposed to turn over millions and millions of documents in compliance with the Epstein Transparency Act. But this is a man who was selected by Leon Black to basically replace him at Apollo when Leon Black, the founder of Apollo, had to step down because of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, in which he paid him $170 million for estate planning, as if anyone has ever received that kind of fee. On top of that, Leon Black was accused in a civil case of rape by a woman in connection to Jeffrey Epstein. And it's just like Leon Black also, was Reid Hoffman's lawyer at Sullivan and Cromwell. And if you just like look at all of the connections between Epstein's world and all people who are at the top of the government now and have been in previous positions, you can understand why he has remained untouchable, and all of his accomplices and all the people who were who may have also been John's perpetrators in these acts. There are 1,000 girls and victims have said that they were not just trafficked to Jeffrey Epstein. Why they have not had faced any justice? Why there haven't been any follow-up investigations?
Well, Tara, listen, in this latest tranche that came out, some of the information, I think there was like the Bill Gates reference about, reportedly about STDs or something, or and Donald Trump was mentioned in there, and they're saying, well, it's these are tipsters and they couldn't be verified and all of that, and they can't investigate. And it's like, wait a minute, we have a very viable, at least we used to have an FBI and people who are quite capable of investigating even tips that aren't substantiated. But it's shocking to me, again, as it was said in the report by Kristen Welker, is that, okay, just because you're in there doesn't mean you're guilty, but there's Donald Trump's in there a lot. Like a lot.
53,000 files, 5,300 files, excuse me, 55,300 files have the president's name in them.
Why hasn't he been brought in and questioned?
Right. You claim that you've investigated the tip, but what about the person who's been accused?
Go on.
Yeah,
I'm just
I
saying.
mean, and also just the fact that, okay, Glenn Maxwell said that there were 25 men in her habeas petition that signed settlements with one victim alone. Okay, what about those men? What about
Mhm.
them? I mean, what are they doing? It's just it's also a sign too that they just don't believe women. They just don't want to believe them. They don't
Mhm.
care. I mean, I think everyone should be concerned that crimes against women, we know crimes against minorities, they don't have a precedent for they don't have they're just not important to these people in the FBI. They're just not prioritized, and it's really disturbing. So yes, how can you say you've actually closed the loop on a tip if you haven't called in the person who's been accused, haven't even called their lawyer?
What?
Seriously?
Exactly. Why you can't like bring them in, bring
Right.
bring them in and get and talk to them and ask them. That's
Right.
what I don't understand it. I think, Tara, we're going to look back in a couple of years, and new information is going to come out, and we will be hoodwinked. The American people will. There's going to be like a tranche of information that is going to not, implicate people, but that's going to find a lot of people had a lot more to do with the trafficking of people, or actually committing horrible sexual acts with young people. I think that's going to come out, and I think it's going to be, as you said, some of the wealthiest people in the world and some of the most influential people. And all we're left now is to our own devices, because they're not being transparent with us. So we don't know exactly who that might be. That could be anyone from the president of the United States on down to, as you see, Prince Andrew and others that they're just not being, in my opinion, transparent about. And they're hiding something.
No, and they've also done a really sloppy job at releasing the files. I mean, Brad Edwards, who is a lawyer for many of the victims, he's actually calling on the Justice Department to take down the entire website until they remove the names of these victims. There are,
Naked pictures, right, of like young women. Like what?
Yeah.
So sloppy. Yeah.
They failed to redact at least 43 names, some appearing more than 100 times. So
Wow.
yeah, and this is like he was saying time is of the essence. You need to take this down now. You are destroying people's lives. So these are women who have already been victimized by Jeffrey Epstein, have already lived through that pain and that shame. And now this is the next phase of the re-traumatization by the government. And I've just been getting a lot of I feel so bad for the survivors, because this is all they're getting. Like they're not getting anything more than this. And this is what they've gotten. It's just, this is what a sad way to end this horrific story. There is no light in this story, sadly.
Not at all.
And Todd Blanche has closed the door on any future investigations. And like I said, Jay Clayton, who's running the next phase, I mean, he's completely compromised himself. He should be recusing himself when he's so involved with men who, one of them had to pay a settlement in connection to a rape of a woman. He denies it, but he had to step down from his role at Apollo. It's just, it is really, 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 really concerning. And the more you look at the web, you realize everybody at the top has some connection to Jeffrey Epstein, including our next Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, who's married to Ron Lauder, who happens to be friends with President Trump, whose daughter is involved in the Greenland takeover. Like, it's just like, the more you look at this web, and then you have, Kathy Remler, who's now being defended by Tony Fratto at Goldman Sachs, who was George Bush's deputy press secretary. And you're just like, wow. Lutnick, who claims, I just walked into his house once and I was like, this is creepy with my wife. And then I left. Turns out he actually wanted to go to the island, and it looks like he arranged to actually go and visit it. And then there's
Emails with Elon Musk has emails in there saying, what's the best, craziest party or whatever. But there you go. Tara
Here we
Palmieri.
are. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tara Palmieri. Make sure you catch Tara Palmieri. She has a Red Letter, which is her Substack, and she does great work over there.
Thank you.
And so there it is up on the screen over on the Substack. Make sure you subscribe to Tara's work. And then she also has a show on YouTube. It's a Tara Palmieri show, right?
Yeah.
The Tara Palmieri show, and there it is right there on YouTube. Make sure you go over and subscribe and support her. Support us independent journalists, because we're out here working our butts off to bring this stuff to you, and like Tara Palmieri is. Thank you, Tara.
Thanks, Don. Stay
soon.
strong.
Thank you. I'll see you soon on your show as soon as I can do it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so anyway, I'm back to ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Okay, so this weekend, obviously this week was very interesting. This is a thing that I want to share over on our Substack. I put this up. I wrote this weekend because I had to write. When I want to get stuff off my chest, I write. And this was something that I needed to speak about, because none of this, being a journalist or any of that, none of that came to me as an adult. I think that was part of my childhood, was being insistent on telling the truth. And so I put up a Substack, and it is called, it says, Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around. And that's an old Negro spiritual. And it was also a fight song during the civil rights movement. And I said, how my grandmother, who's a Sunday song and journalism, taught me to stand for truth. And if you look at that picture, this is a picture of me. I think it's either 1968 or 1969. I was 2 or 3. And so I just put circa 1969. And look at that. I mean, if that's not a grandmother's kitchen from the 60s and 70s, I don't know what is. With the aluminum cabinets in the back, the metal cabinets, and then she has her pots and pans hanging on the wall as decoration, and they hang there, and then her rooster curtains, and then you see the chair. That's a chair on the other side. That's with the that has the flowered fabric upholstery on it, and it was just sitting around that table. The first memory that I ever had was sitting at this table right here, and was probably around this age, maybe a little bit older. That was the first time that I can remember anything as a child. And I remember I was sitting there having lunch or dinner or whatever with, I don't remember if it was lunch or dinner, but I just remember, and I turned around, my grandmother, you see there, was on, I've told this story before, was on one of those old kind of trimline phones, and it was yellow, and it had their long cord that could wrap around the living room and into the dining room and the kitchen. And she would just walk around and talk, and we were eating, and she's on the phone. And I turned around and I said, can I go to the bathroom? And she looked at me. She goes, well, yeah, what do you mean? Of course you can go to the bathroom. And that was my first memory around this table. I spilled lots of glasses of milk at this table. And so this is where I learned insistence on telling the truth. And I start by saying there's a passage in scripture that says the truth shall set you free. But it does not say it will protect you from cages. It does not say it will spare you the consequences of seeing too clearly. It does not say it will make the powerful comfortable. I learned this not from theology, but from experience. When the government decided that my work as a journalist was not protected speech, but punishable, not theory, a cell, a silence imposed by authority. And in that silence, I came to know insistence as a companion. It revealed itself quietly, slowly, in the marrow, in the rhythm of my breath, in the stubbornness of waking each day, determined to see, to write, to witness. It did not ask permission. It did not negotiate. It demanded courage. America loves the idea of a free press. It recites it like a hymn, photographs it like a saint, teaches it like doctrine, celebrates it like a holiday. But the press is only free so long as it does not disturb comfort, so long as it does not expose what power would rather conceal. The free press does not exist to reassure the nation. It exists to reveal it to itself. I'm going to say that again. The free press does not exist to reassure the nation. It exists to reveal it to itself, meaning the free press should be a mirror to America, to the powerful, to the not so powerful, to every single person. It exists to name what is hidden, to tell what is denied, to measure promises against deeds, to hold authority accountable, even when authority would prefer silence. which is what they want in this moment. There's an old Negro spiritual that says, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I did not learn those words from a history book. I learned them in church on Sunday mornings in the quiet authority of my grandmother's voice as she hummed through the house, long before I understood what insistence meant. I took them seriously long before I knew how costly seriousness could be. James Baldwin understood that clarity carries consequences. Dr. King knew that truth invites punishment. Malcolm X saw that systems built on hierarchy will always attempt to silence those who name them. And as voices in the Black prophetic tradition have long warned, truth that threatens power will be met with the full force of authority. Do you hear me? As the voices in the Black prophetic tradition have long warned, truth that threatens power will be met with the full force of authority. I am living that right now. And I have felt that force in my own life. A society that punishes journalists is a society that punishes reality. When a reporter is jailed, silenced, or threatened for speaking truth, the boundary between fact and fiction begins to dissolve. Permitted stories become safe stories, Pentagon. Forbidden stories become invisible stories. And democracy, stripped of witnesses, becomes performance. The First Amendment does not protect comfort. It protects exposure. It protects accountability. It protects the sacred act of observation. Power is not afraid of disorder. It is afraid of revelation, of being revealed. A free press is revelation made public. It is the stubborn insistence that reality cannot be owned by authority. It illuminates patterns, exposes contradictions, names injustice, and reminds a nation of its unfinished promises. Let me go back to this. It is the stubborn insistence that reality cannot be owned by authority. Donald Trump tries to shape reality every single day, whether it is to try to overturn a free and fair election and ask for 11,780 votes, whether it is to try to get Joe Biden prosecuted or in trouble for Ukraine, whatever it is, to lie about the economy, to lie about his connections in the Epstein files, all of it. He tries to shape his reality every single day. Again, I will say it one more time. It is the stubborn insistence that reality cannot be owned by authority. You do not get to own reality. It illuminates patterns, exposes contradictions, names injustice, and reminds a nation of its unfinished promises. The press must carry the same spirit as the old song. Not loud, not theatrical, but unyielding. Because without witnesses, injustice becomes ordinary. Without witnesses, lies become law. Without witnesses, freedom becomes an abstraction. The press is not a luxury. It is the pulse of democracy. If journalists are silenced, citizens are blinded. If truth is criminalized, freedom becomes ceremonial. If the First Amendment is optional, democracy itself is optional. And still, somewhere in the distance, the old song continues, not as nostalgia, but as prophecy. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. And that is my truth. And the rest is bullshit. If you want to know anything about the Don Lemon Show, you can go to donlemon.com and find anything you need there. And by the way, I need to remind you, which is very important in this moment for someone who is in independent press and independent media, that we have been recognized by one of the leading organizations in the world, the preeminent leading civil rights organization in the world, the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. We have been nominated for 4 Image Awards. And I'm going to tell you how to do it right here. So what you do is you go to donlemon.com, and at the top of the page, and then you click on, we put it all together for you because if you go to the site and try to do it yourself, it's a little bit complicated. So you go and you hit Outstanding Podcast, that's #1, and then you hit, go in there and you vote Don. And then you back out to donlemon.com, and then you go to the second one, Outstanding Podcast, News and Information, and then you vote Don. And then you back out of that, right back to donlemon.com, and you hit Outstanding News Information Series, and then you hit vote there. Back out of that, and then you hit the Outstanding Host and Talk and News Information, and then you hit vote Don. Okay. And then you back out. And this is really important. You hit the submit button, which is number 5. We have all 5 steps, very easy for you. And you go all the way to the bottom and it will tell you there will be a button that says submit now. And you hit submit now, and then it will ask you probably for your email. Or first it will ask you, this is what you want to vote for? And you check them, you make sure there are 4 of them for Don Lemon, and then you hit submit. Okay. And then once you do that, it will ask you to put your email up. You put your email up and then blah, blah, blah. I'm not a robot, all that stuff. And then you hit submit. And then it resets every 24 hours. You can vote every 24 hours. Okay. So thank you for that. And by the way, also at donlemon.com, we had the tickets for DL Hughley. So these are sold out. I told you guys to get them. You did not. If you didn't, you missed out. So I'm going to be in New York on February 3rd, and then again on February 4th, DL Hughley and Don Lemon, DL and DL, anything goes. And then we're going to be in Atlanta on February 17th and 18th. And the reason I'm still telling you that, you can still get on a waiting list, and perhaps you may be lucky. Maybe there'll be some more tickets. We'll see if maybe we can find another venue, or maybe the folks at the City Winery. This is at City Winery. They can find another hour or some other time for us to put on another show. But I say this because we're going to announce a major tour very soon around the country that it goes beyond City Winery. Okay, so stay tuned for that. So thank you for your support. Really appreciate it. Again, anything you want to know about the show, go to donlemon.com. Andy, go back to donlemon.com if you can. Go to donlemon.com. And if you hit that watch button, you can see that's where you can subscribe or you can join. If you hit that watch button, it's very simple. Subscriptions are free. If you join us, and you hit that join button, you can become a member, and that's how you support us. Our memberships are very reasonable, and so you can support us by joining us and becoming a member of the Don Lemon Show. Also, back out to donlemon.com. You can go to any one of those places. Will take you to anywhere we're streaming, especially twitch.tv/Don Lemon. We're there. You can become a subscriber there as well. And also our Substack is there. We're live on all of those platforms. And then our merch store is there. People have been saying that they're supporting us by buying the merch. We appreciate it. You guys wanted the merch. I didn't want to do a merch. I'm like, I'm a journalist. I can't do merch, whatever. And then we did it, and it's going gangbusters. So thank you for support. Okay. So I will see you back here this evening at 5 p.m. Eastern. But let me tell you, tonight, and I can talk to you a little bit about it tonight. But Jimmy Kimmel, we're going to be on Jimmy Kimmel tonight, which will air in your local markets after your late news. And so watch us, Jimmy Kimmel on ABC. And you guys know Jimmy went through something very similar where the Trump administration tried to silence him and took him off the air for some time. And so it's going to be an interesting conversation. Okay, so watch Kimmel. Oh, that's my very first interview. Sorry. It's my first. Jimmy Kimmel has an exclusive. It's going to be my first interview. So guys, please make sure, support Jimmy, support me, watch the show, and that's it. So until I see you back here at 5 p.m. Eastern time here on the Don Lemon Show, on the Don Lemon channel, here's what I want you to do. And that is be informed without being inundated and turn the TV off.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.